Game week 2 in Fantasy EFL is nearly here, and in today's video we'll be going through everything you need to know before selecting your final team. Before we get into this Game week 2 preview, I thought it would be a good idea to have a look at how I did in Game week 1. Dunkley was my highest scorer with 11 points, and that is really good. He was only 1% selected, so he was a differential, and it paid off really well. Of course, we looked at the clean sheet odds for Game week 1. Chesterfield were amongst the highest, so I went for it and it paid off. It seems again this year defenders are the way to go. The 3-2-1 formation is the go-to, as the defenders in my team are the highest scorers really, except for Molyneux, who got 10 points against Exeter with his goal. Salek was a poor captaincy choice, but we can move on from that, and my team picks were okay. I'm currently around 5,000th in the world, and that's good for Game week 1, and we can definitely build on that in Game week 2. Moving on to teams to target, and of course there's a whole new division in the game this week with the Championship coming in. And we'll begin with Coventry. They are at home to Hull. Leicester are at home to Sheffield Wednesday, and that could be a cricket score in that game. It's not ideal what's going on at Hillsborough with their ownership, but Leicester will be looking to take full advantage of that. If the game does go ahead, Leicester picks will be very popular. There is no doubt about that. And Southampton at home to Wrexham. That's also a good fixture to target. Of course, Southampton come from the Premier League and Wrexham coming from League One. Moving on to League One, and there's only really one team that I'm fussed about, which is Barnsley. They're at home to Burton Albion. They were very impressive in Game week 1, were Barnsley, but Burton Albion also won with Webster scoring that screamer. But I really back Barnsley to do it again and get off to a perfect start in League 1. There are a few teams in League 2 I think you should be targeting. Chesterfield again against Cheltenham. Crawley at home to Newport. Newport are really good at home, but they are also very bad away, so we want to take full advantage of that with Crawley hosting them. And a bit of a rogue one here, Shrewsbury away to Tranmere. Of course, going a bit different is always good if you want to rise up the ranks quickly, but it also comes with a lot of risk, and if it turns bad, it's not ideal at all. But those are my teams to target. Let me know what you think of them. If you have any other suggestions, be sure to let me know, and let's move on to the clean sheet odds. Like last week, all the teams with the highest clean sheet odds are playing at home, so the bookies are back in the home teams once again, and Leicester have a 66.7% chance of keeping a clean sheet in Game week 1 against Sheffield Wednesday. That is massive. I've never seen a number that high before, so it really does promote the use of double Leicester defence, maybe with an attacking defender and just your normal centre back. But you really can't go against those odds in Fantasy EFL. If you do, you're probably going to fall behind very quickly. So I would be bringing in a Leicester defender or two for Game week 2. This one surprises me here. West Brom 47.6% probability of keeping a clean sheet. They're at home to Blackburn. Leyton Orient 45.5% probability. They are at home to Wigan. Of course, Wigan scored quite a few in Game week 1, so I'm not too sure about those odds. Crawley at home to Newport 45.5%. Of course, we talk about Newport, how poor they are away from home, so maybe a Crawley defender you should be bringing in. One that I do not agree with is Stoke at home to Derby. I think Derby have recruited very well in this transfer window, bringing in a lot of players from Blackburn because of that Eustace link, and I would avoid Stoke defenders, even though the bookmakers say they have a 40% probability of keeping a clean sheet in Game week 2. Crewe at home to Accrington Stanley is another really interesting one. Of course, Dimitru, he was a very popular pick in Fantasy EFL 24-25. He got loads of clearances, and I think in Game week 2 he may be one of the highest owned defenders. But there we are. Those are the clean sheet odds from Bet365. The odds are as of the 4th of August. Of course, they will alter as we get closer to the deadline, but I do find it very interesting, and we'll definitely be using these odds to create our Game week 2 team. Now, of course, those clean sheet odds from Leicester are really impressive, but their goal scoring odds are even more impressive. Some of these players may not be at Leicester before the Sunday game. They may move on, but at the minute, these are the goals and assist odds, anytime goal and assist odds for some Leicester players. Patson Daka is 69.2% probability of getting a goal or assist. Ayew with 57.9%. Mavididi with 69.2%. Bilal El Khanous with 66.7%. And Bobby Reid with 54.5%. Bobby Reid was left out of their most recent friendly, and Patson Daka wasn't very good in that game. so they may be left out for the game against Sheffield Wednesday, but Ayew, Bilal Al-Khanoussa and even Mavididi may well be involved, and they are great attacking picks. If you want to go for a Leicester defender with an attacker or a midfielder, those are the picks I would be going for. Confirm your decision when the lineups are out. That is the best time to pick your team, in my opinion. And there may well be someone who isn't in this list to starting in that game, who also has a great probability of scoring a goal or getting an assist in that game against Sheffield Wednesday. Now finally, this is my first draft, the first of many. If you want to keep up with my updated drafts, be sure to have a look at my Twitter. I will be posting my final draft, my final team selection on there. That'll be linked in the description. In goal, we got Rushworth of Coventry. Coventry were in my teams to target segment, and I think I back Coventry to keep a clean sheet in Game Week 1 against Hull City. And I think Rushworth is the number one, although they do have a plethora of keepers in their squad. And we have got double Leicester defence in this team. Of course, I'm not too sure of who will be playing in attack for Leicester City in that game, so I thought I'll keep it safe with the two defenders at the moment. First of all, we've got Luke Thomas, the very attacking defender. Hopefully, alongside with that clean sheet, he will get a few goal contributions. Justin may play ahead of Thomas, but he has been linked with a move elsewhere, so I've gone with Thomas at the moment. Alongside Yannick Vestergaard, he started in Leicester's most recent pre-season friendly, so I think he will be involved in that game against Sheffield Wednesday. I expect Leicester to be very attacking. They'll get a load of corners, and hopefully Vestergaard can score from one of those corners. My third defender, of course, we're going for that 3-2-1 formation, is Demetriou of Crewe Alexandra. We saw those clean sheet odds, they are very favourable for Crewe. He was one of the highest scoring defenders in Fantasy EFL last season, and I think that is very well known with his 12.2% ownership. That is very high for a defender. Moving into midfield, we've got Gustavo Hamer of Sheffield United. He is playing Bristol City. I think this will be a harder game for Sheffield United than some may think, but of course we saw how badly United beat Bristol City in the playoffs, and Gustavo Hamer was instrumental in those games, and I'm sure Hamer will pick up quite a few points in that game. I have a very attacking midfield. As you can see, I don't really go for that. I usually have a player that will pick up a load of interceptions. I really like the interception rule in this game. But we've got DKD alongside Hamer. Of course, they are facing Burton Albion in Game Week 2. And Davis Killerden had a very good Game Week 1, a goal, an interception, and of course a shot on target. He got an 11-pointer in Game Week 1 against a very strong Plymouth side. And against one of the weaker sides in the division, I'm sure he could pick up a haul like that once again. Up front, it's an incredibly rogue one, and maybe a little bit of bias creeping in. Fabrizio Caven of Bristol Rovers. Rovers are away to Fleetwood Town. That'll be a tough game for the Gas, and they were very poor in Game Week 1. They were very dominant, of course. They had a load of shots, but they couldn't convert any of them. They were very poor in front of goal, but Caven is the new striker that they have brought in. And I've got a very sneaky feeling that he will get a goal if starting in Game Week 2. It just seems like fate to me. I'm not sure if I'm being too confident there as a Bristol Rovers fan, but I'm really hopeful that he can score. He had a very good scoring record for his previous side. I think he scored like 28 goals last season. And hopefully he brings in some of that form for Bristol Rovers and helps me rise the ranks in Fantasy EFL because he is the ultra differential. Moving on to the team picks, Leicester City, of course. That means I'm tripling up on Leicester. They will be very popular. They'll probably be the most popular team pick in the game. Alongside Barnsley, who were in my teams to target segment. Maybe I'm being a bit too confident in Barnsley's ability. Of course, Burton Albion were very good during the back end of last season. So maybe I'll take out the Barnsley team pick for another team. But that is where I am at the moment. I think it's looking pretty good. It's a mix with differentials with high-owned players, and you can't really go wrong with that mix. Let me know what you think of my team in the comments. In terms of other players who are also very popular in the Championship, it's very Sheffield United heavy here. A lot of people are backing the Sheffield United defence with Ahmed Ozic, Harrison Burrows and Cooper in goal. Alfie Doughty, who's recently joined from Luton, the wing-back, who is now at Millwall, is up there with the highest owned in the Championship. Radoni is at 0.5% selected despite having an injury icon next to his player name, so that is something to look out for. He may not be available for their game against Hull City. And Kwame Poku, who's gone to QPR from Peterborough on a free transfer. He was a king last season. He's at 0.4% selected. And yeah, that does conclude the video. If you are interested in being in my mini league, the code is on the screen right now, or you can click the link in the description. I am trying to hit 250 subscribers before the start of a new Premier League season, and anything you can do to help me get to that goal will be greatly appreciated. Another plug, my Twitter will be linked in the description. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for staying until the end. And yeah, good luck in building your Game Week 2 drafts.